My name is Ali, Muhammad Ali. Everybody calls me Ali. I'm originally from, I suppose you'd say, the northwest of UK. I come from an area called the Wirral, which is in between Wales and England. I loved science. I loved chemistry and physics and all that lot, because again, it was dealing with knowledge. I liked mathematics. It's the one subject which objective truth is taught. My whole attitude on religion really started to fall apart. I entered a point where I'm not going to believe anything unless it can be proved to me, unless it can be shown to me. I should refer to those as my years of darkness when I think about it. I mean, this is the first time I've thought about it in these sort of terms, but yeah, they were years of darkness. There was no objective reality that made sense to me. Minds are like parachutes. They work better when they're open. And this, I thought, yeah, so I'll have an open mind. I studied lots of different subjects, not just ones that were taught in school. I became aware of lots of other subject matters. And all these different pieces of information all came together one day in September 1982. I remember it was a Saturday. All the pieces of information all suddenly gelled in together, and I realised that I'm living in a singularity. I am witnessed, I am watched from everywhere, everything's vibrating, all things are in one way of being. And I thought, this is what religious people must call God. From that moment I realised it was an epiphany, because I had no religious thoughts before then. I wasn't particularly interested in it at all. I had gone into looking to see whether there was a solution to my problems. When I was 19, I sort of hurt myself quite badly. I was crippled in my leg, and I thought, 2,000 million Christians, can't all be wrong, can they? So I had a look in the Bible. I read the line from Noah saying, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. I found that intriguing. But everything came together on that day in September. I'd gone for a walk with a friend of mine. We'd gone walking in the countryside around Sheffield. Stunningly beautiful place, and our conversation started off talking about all subject matters, and it came round onto the subject of religion. And suddenly everything became clear in my mind, in my heart. Everything was clear about we've been guided, we are guided, we have inspirations that are with us. We have an opponent who is against us advancing. And this character, in religious terms, is known as Satan, which is a Hebrew word meaning opponent. Then a friend of mine who'd just come back from Algeria, she'd gone there for the summer holiday, met an Algerian lad, got married, had come back after accepting Islam, and I went to see her the next day to tell her about my epiphany. And she heard me out and said, here, have a look at the Quran. I had my Bible in my pocket. I don't need to read that, I've got this. And it says, be careful of those who come out of the desert or they're in the inner apartments, don't believe them. She looked at me and said, but if you don't read it, you'll never know what's in that book. I thought, that is an impeccable argument, pass it over to me. And I opened it up. And there in front of me, I seem to remember it saying, this book confirms everything which you possess of knowledge. And I recognised it. So she said to me that her husband would come over and they'd go to the mosque on Monday. They didn't turn up on Monday. They didn't turn up on Tuesday. And I thought, if I don't act on this right now, I'm totally going to be lost, because I haven't moved. Now I know truth. And so off to the mosque I went on Wednesday. And I walked into the mosque, Wednesday lunchtime it was. They just made their Zuhr prayer. And I walked in afterwards. Very strange experience when I walked into the place. It felt like I was being turned inside out and back to front, as if I was being forced through an egg timer. Like the top became the bottom, the inside became the outside. It was very weird. And I thought that was a trick of Satan to stop me. I thought, no, you're not stopping me. You're not stopping me. And I said to the brothers as I walked in, right, I want to be Muslim right now. They showed me how. So they told me about Shahada. I told them I've had a wash, I've had a clean, I put my best clothes on. They gave me the words of Shahada, the witness. So they taught me about Shahada in Arabic. I said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. The first part, la ilaha illallah, I had no difficulty with understanding or grasping the whole concept. That was the reason I was in the masjid. But Muhammadur Rasulullah, this is the adventure of every Muslim who wakes up and comes to Islam. It's finding out who is and what does it mean. Because one thing they never say in English, they never give us translations of the names. We're not taught in English that the word Muhammad means something. The word means admirability. So everything this man is doing is admirable. I find out in the seerah of his life that things he did even before accepting Islam were totally admirable. Even the administrators of the idolatrous Meccans called him Mr. Trusty. I trust him. Al-Amin. You can trust this man. And it's just like, I remember reading about when they were arguing about who was going to put the stone in the Kaaba. And they'd all sworn an oath by Allah that whoever the first person is who crosses the door, we'll get him. And it just happened to be Rasulullah walking in as a young man who proposed, oh, you're four elders. I belong to Quraysh. Why don't each one of you hold one of the four corners and we'll pick up the stone together and I'll just pop it in. I'll just pop it in the place. And they were like, fine. Nobody could take precedence. Nobody could claim anything. He's an orphan in the community. He's not looking for status. They all found that most acceptable, and I find it most inspirational. It makes me start to love him. I didn't know who he was. I'd been taught as a Christian various horrible words about him, and I had various opinions which were based on no basis in fact. And so the amount of information one is going to have on the life of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ before accepting Islam, I'd say, be very careful what you believe. Doesn't colour what you know, because a lot of people's beliefs colour what they know. Yeah, one of the first experiences I had on accepting Islam was I was invited to live in a Muslim household. The patriarch of the household was a Scottish brother who'd accepted Islam. He was a lot elder to me. He was like a middle-aged guy and I was like a late teenager. And his wife was Malaysian. And she was the daughter of an imam. She was very knowledgeable about Islam. When she was cooking, she'd be reading Quran or she'd be studying her study books, which were written in Jawi, which is the Malaysian language, but in Arabic script. And she had these old books. And she taught me things about Islam, the practicalities about how to keep yourself clean, how to clean the bathroom, how come it's good to do housework. So this idea that I come from an English background, it wasn't really men's work to do housework. But as a Muslim, she said, no, it's like the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, helped his wives with the housework. So I was like, oh, pass me the Hoover. Pass me the Hoover right now and do it really thoroughly. So I get round all the corners, get everything spotlessly clean the toilet, not just the bowl, but make sure everything's clean. It's like, it feels really good. One of the things I really like about Islam, there was a question I read in the Quran, in which Allah poses the question, what concern is it of Allah to punish the servants who are grateful? And Islam, when we ask about how do we say gratitude, express gratitude to Allah, it's the phrase, Alhamdulillah. It's so light on the tongue, and it weighs so much in my heart. It fills me with joy just to say it. Alhamdulillah, it makes me smile. Other people hear it, the English people ask me, well, what's that word? That sounds nice. What was that? Alhamdulillah. Can I learn to say it? Yeah, of course you can. And it just leaves me with light inside me. My advice to non-Muslims is don't believe the hype from people who are opponents to Islam. What would they know about it? Now there's a present thing going on in the world at the moment where they're telling us there's the war on terror. For instance, let's take that as a bullet point, okay? You've got the rhetoric coming out of the West. I was living in the West, and you've got the rhetoric, but I also heard the rhetoric come from the East. The organisations who belong to that, I don't know, the opposing element. But the weirdest thing is, they've both got the same rhetoric. You just substitute the names. So they're both involved in the same contract, is I don't like you, I'm going to fight against you, this is ignorance. The truth is everybody on this planet is connected through DNA into one family. There's one blood that runs through humanity, therefore we belong to one tribe. All the different pieces of information all come together into one thing. And this one thing is, the Arabs say, Tawheed, the oneness of being. And this is, it reminds me, coming here reminds me of it. Since Islam came into my life, I get asked, is it intellectually satisfying? Does it stand up to rigour? I was trained to be a scientist. Why on earth would a scientist get involved in something like Islam? My experience of Islam, I can only talk about experience, I haven't got time to theorise, it's an experiential reality,
It is the most rigorously intellectual pursuit. One wants to take it intellectually. One can look at the Quran in every level.
It's the destination where we all approach. It's a choice people make to accept or deny. It was presented to me and I accepted it. Alhamdulillah. I find out in earlier times, maybe when we were created, we were asked, who is your sustainer? And I must have been in the group who said, you are. Oh Allah, oh isness. Because the word is Allah. And that word makes me very happy when I say that word. I like that word, Allah. It's like, oh, my heart likes that. My heart's been saying that for years. It's Allah, Allah, Allah. And we're walking, I feel my feet going on the ground. Allah, Allah. We breathe. That was my epiphany. I can describe it as seeing that in everything I see around me. And it won't leave me alone. I've had things which have knocked me off the path a few times. You can knock me down, but you can't stop me getting back up again. Only Allah Azza wa Jal can stop me getting back up again. I don't believe in any deity or any God or anything, except I'll use Abraham's words. إِلَّا الَّذِي فَطَرَنِي فَإِنَّهُ سَيَهْدِينِ. Except for what has evolved me. And it's surely going to guide me. And my life has been lived since the age of 19 and I'm 50. I feel that guidance. So many things happened to me in my life which would be very odd, and if I didn't have the guidance I wouldn't know what to do. Before Islam I was not a happy bunny. I was not a happy man because there's no objective network of truth. The Arabs have a phrase, Hasbi Allah, La ilaha illahu, alayhi tawakkaltu, wa huwa rabbul arshil azim. I like these words very much. Hasbi Allah, enough for me is Allah. And Allah is what Allah is. And for people who don't know about it or are scared about it, well, you better, as the English say, suck it and see. It's a very nice taste, feels really good. And I'm not going to be giving it up in any time soon. I've got my will saying that when I die, bury me according to Islamic rites. Bury me on my right side facing Makkah or with my head facing Makkah. Put me in the ground. Please, somebody read Fatiha over me.